Get back up and try again. Mercy on a fire field, fostered in the honor of the oldest codes. Paint in the stains, out across the centuries, blood up on the banners where the waters flow. Blaze, spark, ground in and grow. Strain, start, flows in the oaks for I am rebirth. I am the terror in the tide. Wake me when I die again. I am rebirth. Cycle of spirit denied. Get back up and try again. Reap the eternal from the mind. Take the memory, cast all the suffering aside to enlighten me. Reap the eternal from the mind. See the waterfall, cast all the suffering aside. Mystic emerald, sever the ties. Virgin of the parasite, consider the spirit of the permanent. Never deny, order in the acolytes. Truth's immortal codes are ever turbulent. Blades, spark, break up its frame, strain, stop, friends fade away for I am rebirth, I am the tear in the tide, wake me when I die again, I am rebirth, cycle of spirit denied, get back up and try again.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another painting stream. So good to see you this morning. Hi, I'm Andrew, also known as Thanatos in the internet, and this is my painting stream where I sit down most weekday mornings, not all, but most, and get some painting done and practice some new techniques and try to do things that I'm not actually that accomplished at. This has been an interesting month. So this month, I have been working on a larger diorama project. I've been working on this fountain for an entire month now. Let's go to overhead cam actually so you can see it in better detail. So the project started with Gurnisson here. He's a dwarvish figure from Age of Sigmar, and they made this really cool sculpt of him, and I wanted to do something different with him. And one of the things I had been intending to paint was do a model as if it was a statue, as if it was a corroded bronze statue, and I've started work on him. You can see that I've applied a little bit of paint to him, not much, mostly just little highlights here and there. But that's not what I'm working on right now. Because I had this idea to do a model as if it was a statue, I decided, well, let's make a base for that statue. And that's what I've been working on for the past 2 weeks. I have constructed this fountain. It is made of a Dixie cup in the center here, and a takeout container around the edge here. A little bit of insulating foam to make these little corners, and a whole lot of green stuff to make the texture for all these bricks and the base here. I've said this a lot this week, but I learned a great deal in the process of constructing this thing. And one of the things that I learned is that green stuff is not my favorite sculpting medium. It is exceptionally sticky and difficult to mold. It's good for some limited applications, but not great for this particular, what I ended up doing with it. So, that's fine. I learned a lot, and this stream is all about discovering things and learning and doing new things. So that's, in that regard, it was definitely a great experience. I learned a good deal about what not to do when constructing a larger terrain piece. That having been said, I still have a lot of painting to do here. The other piece for this is I made 3 little gargoyles. Well, didn't make. These are WizKids pre-primed minis. They required a lot of work. The sculpt on the mini was not great. The plastic quality is not great. I spent a lot of time sort of trimming and patching, but they look okay now. I've got 3 of these, and I've got this itty-bitty little wormling here. And the plan is to have that wormling standing up here. You can see there's a little bit of pale blue here on the gem that Gotrek is holding, or the rune that he's holding. That is where this wormling is going to eventually sit. Those are his claws. I basically cut the base off of this wormling and molded these claws out of green stuff. That's actually, so that's what I should be doing with green stuff, is this sort of molding. It's good for kit bashing, doing little things. Doing large areas, like all of this brickwork, maybe not the greatest thing to do with green stuff. But, you know, like I always say, it was a good learning experience. And now here we are. I'm going to, hopefully today, finish painting the outside and inside, all these little bricks. I want to paint all these bricks. And that's just going to be time consuming. It's going to take a little while to do. So I'm just going to dive into it. I'm using this dark blue gray. It's called Somber Gray, from one of the WizKids paint kits. Maybe today I'll have time to add some stuff to the base of the fountain, make it look less monotonous. Like skulls. Gotta have skulls if you're doing a Warhammer model. Alright. So I just want to get all the rest of these bricks painted, so that I can move on to the next step, which is doing a wash on this. So the foam areas here worked pretty well. Not perfect, but definitely it was easier to sculpt than the green stuff. So in future, and I do plan to do another diorama next month, I'm going to use more foam and less green stuff. This is actually a bit where the foam broke apart some. You can see that it's all cracked and stuff. Figure this will be a good place to put some vegetation on the model to make it look as though some moss is growing on it. But it looks very cool. You know me, I like getting an organic, natural look to a piece. And this was definitely an occasion where having the foam break apart a bit resulted in something that looks very nifty. I said this on Tuesday, that I feel like I'm sort of half-assing this project at this point. And it's mostly because, well, I've been working on this for a couple weeks now, and I just want it to be done. And I've learned a lot over the process of this. And I feel like there's not a lot of interesting detail. Like, I'm going to do some highlighting, obviously. I'm going to do a wash on all of this. I've actually been thinking about that. I'm wondering if I should use that glossy brown wash that I used on some of the Warcry terrain. I didn't like how it looked on the Warcry terrain, but this is a fountain, so looking glossy might be appropriate. Like, it might look okay to have a sort of wet look to it. I'm debating on that. Trying to decide how I'm going to proceed with that. What is wrong with my chat here? Sorry, chat, my phone has decided I don't get to see what chat is saying. So for lighting effects, actually, Sphere Song, I don't know if you were around when I was working on some of the Marvel Crisis Protocol stuff, but I have toyed around a little bit more with that. I was working on the Red Skull here, and you can see, maybe you can see? I don't know, the contrast isn't great here. But I did a lighting effect with the Tesseract that he's holding. So that is something that I've been practicing more. I'm definitely going to continue to work on that. I don't know that I'm going to do that with this model. It's not really what I'm going for here, but it's definitely a technique that I want to practice more. The larger project that I have planned for next month, because I am already planning my diorama for next month, is going to involve a lot of lighting effects. I'm actually really getting excited about next month's project, and I know I've been sort of teasing it a little bit, but it is another large diorama project, and I'm going to try and apply all the lessons I've learned in the construction of this project. And we'll see how that goes. It's going to be a larger piece than this, but with a lot less, well, I shouldn't say that. It's going to have less sculpting, but I'm actually going to be working on a new thing that I've never done before. I mean, it's something that miniature modelers always do, but something that I have not done, which is that I am going to be sculpting a tree for that project. It's one of 2 projects I have planned that involve sculpting a tree, and I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be an interesting challenge. I know, as often happens with these projects that I undertake, I know some of the theory. It's just actually putting it into practice and seeing if I can do it, make it actually work. And we shall certainly see. God, this is such a mess right here. Oh well. When I was skinning this thing in green stuff, I definitely was running out of patience, and you can see it here. It's just misformed and bulbous and weird. Whatever. I had actually been planning to have another piece to this. I was going to have a little lip that ran around the outside here and covered up some of these blemishes on the top. But when I went to manufacture that, it turned out to be more difficult than I had anticipated, and I wasn't able to get it to work, so I sort of abandoned that. So this is the final form for the sculpt on this, and I just have to rely on painting to make it work somehow. Hopefully, because the fountain itself is not the focal point. It's the stuff that adorns it that's going to be what folks are looking at, I hope. Some of these blemishes will not be the center of attention. And maybe I can trick the eye with some of the painting. Draw attention away from the worst areas. Like this particular bit right here that I'm painting now, which is just so weird. It looks like it melted. Not at all what I was going for. Yeah, I definitely need to move into airbrush territory. Someday I'll get myself an airbrush and we'll start doing that. That is a project for future me. Definitely, I think airbrushing is something that I need to work on. So at this stage, this project, this fountain, I have maybe 4 days of work left. I want to finish this base coat, which I'm going to get done today. And then I'm going to do a wash over the whole thing. I'm going to add some some bits inside the fountain. Like I said, skulls. I'm thinking about maybe adding some coins or treasure or something like that. There's a WizKids mini gold dragon that comes with a small treasure pile that I could paint up and stick in there. Might do that. But anyways, just put some stuff around on the bottom of the fountain there, on that brown area. And then I have to finish painting the gargoyles, which are going to be pretty quick, because I'm not doing a lot of detail on them. I'm going to be adding a sort of speckled granite look to them. So I'm going to add that. And I have to do the corrosion on the Gotrek statue, which is going to be fun. That's probably going to be a day's worth of work by itself. And then it's water effects. I'm going to be adding some water effects to this fountain. So that's 4 or 5 days of work, which means I'll probably finish this project next week, hopefully. And then have a couple of days at the very end of the month to work on some more Crisis Protocol figures. Before we move into September's project. Which I will say does also involve Crisis Protocol, just not the Crisis Protocol core set that I've been working on, which is, a store demo for Battleground. Anyhow, plenty to keep me busy, keep me painting for the next couple of months. I do have my November project planned. I don't have anything planned for December yet. I have another model that I could potentially work on, but I kind of want to find something holiday themed that I can work on for December. Think about that when December gets closer. But I've got September, October planned. Something vaguely planned for November. So, I do know that nail polish that crackles as it dries. And in fact, Games Workshop has a couple of different crackle options in their technical line. Which I've experimented with. I actually did a crackle finish on the bases of some figures a while back. And it's very cool to work with. I did a sort of a lava effect with a red showing through underneath a cracked brown surface, or a cracked gray surface. And it's definitely a cool effect to do. I don't know how it would look as a texture for rocks. I see it more used on bases in a sort of a desert context, where it looks like parched, cracked earth. So, Sphere Song, since it's been a little while since you've been in my chat, what have you been up to? What have you been working on? Doing any cool art stuff? Or RPG stuff? Or anything cool like that? I'm always interested in the art that folks in the community end up doing. You've been doing a move? Moves can be brutal. Last year was the craziest move of my life. I think you know much of that, because not only were we moving mid-pandemic, which meant that Amanda and I did all the moving ourselves, made truck rentals interesting too, doing contactless truck rentals. But then, of course, Clara got out. Clara fell out a window, and we were missing our cat for 2 months, so we were moving and cat hunting, and oh god, last year was so brutal. This pandemic and move and cat, all of that coming together to make last year just absolutely one of the most difficult years. But we got through it. We found Clara. We got her back. She's under the covers in the bedroom, or was when I started this stream. Man, yeah. Having stuff in storage. So moving between cities is a major thing. Haven't had to do that in a little while. But the last time I moved between cities, I was moving from Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania, up to Massachusetts, and I didn't really have a place to stay when I got here. So we stored a bunch of stuff in my in-laws' basement in one of their houses, basement/garage, and I had 2 cats with me at the time, and I brought those cats, my computer, and like a sleeping bag and a bunch of clothes in a duffel bag, and lived in my father's basement for a period, in the place where my sister and father and my nieces were all living. That was interesting times. Then Amanda and I got a place, and we started moving all our stuff into that place, which is where we stayed until we moved last year. 20 years in the same place, because I don't like moving. It's not fun. And over the course of 20 years, we accumulated quite a lot of stuff. Ooh, bug problem. Yeah. Yeah. We actually had a minor bug problem here last month. Wasn't bad, but we had an infestation in the basement. And because the heating system for this apartment is forced air circulation from radiators in the basement. It's not radiators so much as just, blows hot air from the basement up through vents. Bugs were crawling up through the vents and into the apartment. And we had a lot of flies down there. I think something must have gotten into the basement and died, but we weren't able to find anything. So, yeah, my landlords came in and sprayed. But they didn't have to spray the apartment itself, which is good, because that would have been something we would have had to deal with. Clara, Clara, being such an incredibly nervous cat, makes the potential difficulties of anything that involves, like, temporary housing or anything like that much more complicated. We have a rough plan for what to do if we ever have a fire in the apartment, but I really don't know what we would do if we had to work out some sort of temporary housing, because Clara would not adjust quickly or easily to a new place. She is many things, but carefree is not any of them. Like, Amanda and I could easily live out of her parents' house in the short term or something like that if we had to, but Clara couldn't live there. Just have to cross my fingers that we don't have to deal with that sort of circumstances. You make these plans just in case, and then you just hope that you don't have to deal with them. I'm going to run into a problem with this painting in a little bit here. I'm almost done with the outside edge, and then we'll work on the inside of the rim. But we're going to reach a stage where we have to paint the middle plinth here, and I'm going to run out of places to be able to hold the model. I might have to take a break from painting bricks while I wait for this to dry, so that I can hold the outside edge that I'm painting right now while I paint the middle bits. Maybe in November and December. I'll see about getting an airbrush and do as my large monthly projects for those months something airbrush related. Something good to practice with the airbrush. I've mentioned next month's project. I'm actually going to experiment with watercolors. One of the things I want to do for next month's diorama is paint a backdrop for the diorama. And I'm going to do it in watercolors, which is, you know, I haven't painted anything in watercolors since I was 10. So that should be fun. It's going to be very different from painting with acrylics. I'm going to be painting in watercolors on a white surface. And I'm going to want areas of the model, or of the backdrop, the painting that I'm doing, to be lighter. And I'm just not used to working in a medium where the way to make something lighter is to not paint it, or to paint more lightly around it or over it. I'm so used to you know, painting my base, darkening it down, and then dry brushing the lighter colors over the darker color. So working with watercolors, I'm anticipating, is going to be almost the complete opposite. I'm going to have to pay a lot more attention as I'm working on the piece to what areas I don't want to be too dark, and be careful about putting too much paint on those areas. It's going to be a fun experiment. I'm looking forward to that. And then, of course, like I said, the tree building is going to be a fun experiment. And I'm going to be building a larger base, but having done what we've done this month on this piece, I'm definitely going to be doing that larger base almost entirely in foam, in the polystyrene, because it's easier to mold, and it'll end up being lighter. So yeah, applying the lessons that I've learned this month to next month's project. Definitely something that we're going to do. Next month is not that far away. Let's see. August has somewhat flown by for me. Partially because I had a vacation. I took a vacation last week. And as a result, it was basically a week that didn't exist. I chose for my vacation to relax as much as possible. I was just trying to de-stress. I had become very stressed over the last couple of months. So my objective for my vacation was to eliminate as much stress from my life as I could and just relax. And I did a good job at that. I relaxed a great deal. Played video games, slept a lot. I did not do much else. And as a result, it just feels like a lost week. I mean, I'm definitely in better shape now for having done it. I needed that vacation desperately. I needed to have that time to myself, to just unwind was not the most relaxing week in terms of global news, so I had to sort of ignore that. One thing that I did last week is I completely stayed off of Facebook for the whole week. I need Facebook for my job, but if I didn't, I definitely would not be spending time on Facebook. So last week I de-Facebooked myself, and that was a marvelously relaxing thing to do. I uninstalled it from my phone even. I uninstalled the app. I uninstalled Messenger. I didn't look at it at all for a week. And if you have the ability to do that, I highly recommend it. Facebook contributes nothing to my life, I realized, except stress. Alright, that is the outside edge complete. Now we'll start working on the inside. Sphere Song. That barbarian idea sounds so cool. For anybody who can't see chat, Sphere Song says that they're working on a barbarian character, or a sorcerer that believes they are a barbarian. And their spells are all bonus action spells that the character believes are actually the results of their barbarian rage. And I can see mechanically how that would work, but it would be a ton of fun to roleplay that. So, good on you, Sphere Song. That's an awesome idea. You know me, I love interesting and unique creations, and character builds are a great way to work outside the box and do something interesting. Touch up the brown at the base of this when I'm done. I kind of like the look of mud coming up the base of the bricks. Definitely have. Well, I need to practice my sculpting skills because I've had a lot of practice painting, but not a lot of practice sculpting, and you can really tell looking at some of these areas here. One of the projects I should do, because it'll give me an opportunity to do that, to practice sculpting, is I should do some sort of kit bashing. I've been wondering what kind of kit bash would be fun. I see a lot of ogre, gargant, giant kit bashes, and I see a lot of orc kit bashes in the various Warhammer and Age of Sigmar groups that I follow. And I can see the appeal because definitely when you're kit bashing that sort of stuff, ogres and orcs and such don't require a great deal of precision in the sculpting. One of the things I have long wanted to work on is some Adeptus Mechanicus from 40k. AdMech, for anybody who's unfamiliar with it, are cyborg army, and they have all sorts of metal bits grafted on and around them. I feel like there is good potential for some kind of cool kit bash with that. So maybe I buy a couple of AdMech kits and mash them together to make something weird and new. That could be a November project. After working on dioramas 3 months in a row, it might be nice to do something that's not so diorama centered. Oh yeah. Nurgle and demons, definitely a lot of kit bashing going on with those things. I've seen some interesting Tyrannid mutant things. Even Deathwatch. I mean, pretty much any corrupted race from Warhammer 40k is ripe for kit bashing and doing something interesting and weird with them. Because if it comes out looking warped and wrong, well, that's kind of in the flavor of the piece. That's what you should be looking at. It's a feature, not a bug. Those things should be warped and wrong. If I did an AdMech kit bash, it would be less about doing making a quote-unquote realistic figure, and more about just seeing what I could do with the component parts of AdMech. But that would give me an opportunity to play with green stuff. There's definitely some applications of green stuff that are more appropriate than what I've done here. Green stuff should not be used to construct an entire terrain piece. It's just not the right thing to use for this. But where green stuff shines is in blending pieces together I've seen green stuff used well in making sort of fur and hair, which is a good way to cover up joints and blends. I've seen it used to make tattered cloaks. It's definitely a green stuff thing. Banners, that sort of thing. What I'm saying, I guess, is the green stuff is better for blending than it is for actual sculpting. I think we're on track for today to finish this base coat. I've done the outside edge, making good progress on the inside edge. Once the base coat is done, I can move on to washes and doing the more highlights and finer details and stuff like that. I always say that the base coat is my least favorite stage in a model, because the base coat is just, it's like color blocking. It's not actually painting, it's just getting the concept of the model down. And it always looks unfinished because it is unfinished. And this is just a larger model, so a lot more base coat. To look awful. So the sooner I can finish the base coat, the sooner I can move on to doing the bits that actually make it look tolerable. I have to think about how I'm going to stick the gargoyles onto this model. Because I experimented with it a little bit you'll recall this one here, I popped the base off of it. And this is where it's going to go, facing into the center of the model. But I don't like the large gap around the feet there. So either I carve out a little section there, that is the foam, so it is carvable, or I build it up with a patch of green stuff around the edge. That's probably the best way. Do a little liquid green stuff around the edge to make it look less like something just plopped on there and make it look like part of the actual model. Once I have all three of those on though, this is going to look a lot better. So I want to work on finishing those little doobers. I have to think about how I'm going to do light sourcing for this. When I do highlights, I tend to choose a light source and do the highlights from that side. And I don't think this will be any different in that regard. So I'm going to have to actually decide on where the light is coming from with regards to those gargoyles before I can do highlights and final details on them. And I want to do final details before I glue them down. So I'm going to have to kind of keep track of which one goes where on the model. We'll work on that starting with next stream, which will probably be, well, I might stream Sunday. I took Wednesday off and Thursday off, so I probably should stream Sunday. I want to be able to finish this thing. At this stage, I'm pretty much of the belief that this is not going to look exactly the way I envisioned it. So I just want to get it as done as I can. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be a set piece that I show off extensively. But it has been excellent learning experience. I think the process of constructing this has been a lot better than the end result is going to be. I was worried about holding this model from the outside edge, but it's actually dried pretty quickly. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. much time do I have? We've got like 40 minutes left. I feel like I can finish this base coat and we'll work on the gargoyles a bit once we're done with this base coat. I think I have time for that. Poop. This happened to me a bunch last stream too, where I insufficiently dried my brush after washing it. These weird mutant bricks. So I'm thinking about some things that I want for this stream. Just upgrades that I'm going to do over the next little while. Before next month, like I said, I have to get myself some watercolors. And the board that I'm going to be painting for the backdrop for next month's piece. I want to get a better zoom cam. I've done a little research. I want to get a higher def zoom cam, because one of the things I'm not super happy about with this stream is the fact that the resolution of what you're seeing is not that high. If I'm going to do a painting stream, people should be able to see the detail of the painting. I appreciate you folks hanging out with me, but I think mostly right now what this stream offers is me prattling on while the visual is a vague approximation of painting. You can kind of see brush strokes happening, but you can't really see much of the detail. Not that there's much detail in what I'm doing right now, but when I'm trying to do fine detail and stuff like that, it would be nice if what I was broadcasting was a little easier to watch. So yeah, I want to get myself a better zoom cam. It's probably going to cost a couple $100. And I want to get some magnifying options. So I'm actually hoping to head out to Michael's, the local hobby store, and get a magnifying lens or two, maybe one for me so that I can see what I'm doing, and one to go under the zoom cam so that you can see a magnified view. I could probably improve my lighting. Eyeball cam. Yeah. I actually did think about taking this camera and strapping it to my forehead, like wearing a headband and having the zoom cam strapped to my forehead. Did you guys get the same view I do instead of the top down that you have? Exactly, GoPro style. Yeah, that's seasickness is an issue. This is why virtual reality streams are difficult. Because so much of the immersion of virtual reality comes from head tracking and from the view adjusting as you move your face around. But if it's not your head doing the motion, it's extremely disorienting to watch. Yeah, that's totally fair. Sphere Song and Lobster, that for the most part, I think most of my quote unquote viewers are probably just listening and peering at things when I mention take a look at this or something like that, you know, look at this specific thing that I'm doing. By and large, especially when I'm doing something like this that's very repetitive, there's not a lot of visual flair to this stream, which is fine. This puts the pressure on me to be interesting to listen to. But due to the time block I have made space for my streaming, it is generally during working hours for folks in the US. Like, if I run late, folks in the UK can maybe catch the end of my stream from home after going home from work, if they work 9 to 5. But for anybody in the US, these streams are always during work hours, except Sunday streams. And sometimes people have things they want to do on Sundays. Almost there. I talked about counting the number of bricks at one point. was like, I don't know, I'm too lazy. But there's gotta be at least 100 bricks on here, maybe more, that I've sculpted in here. Definitely very monotonous. Yeah, I'm impressed that Lobster is able to join because he's in the Bay Area in California, and my stream starts at 7 a.m. for him. So I appreciate that you're able to tune in and be a part of this. In that 7 to 9 block. It is very early. Like me, at 7 a.m., I'm rarely awake. Clara wakes us up at 5 a.m. precisely to get her breakfast. And then I usually stumble back into bed and pass out until about 8, maybe 7:30. I am not a morning person. This was extremely evident when I was on vacation and I was sleeping until 10 or 11 every day. Felt like I was a teenager again. I definitely used to sleep till noon when I was a kid. When I was a teen. Almost done with the outside edge. The center should go a little faster because there's not as much to it. And then do the tops of the plinths and stuff. Those are going to be in that sort of granite color because I want them to blend with the gargoyles. So close, chat. Gonna finish this base coat today. Definitely gonna get that done. Very approximately 140 bricks. Sounds about right, probably. Coffee time. Ah, coffee, 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 coffee. All right. Let's finish these bricks. Do the tops. And then if we have a few minutes left in the stream, which we will, Let's work on texture and stuff for the gargoyles. Close. Could also guesstimate the number of bricks on here based on how long it takes me to paint one and how long it's taken me to paint all of them. Figure. Say 10 to 15 seconds per brick, or per brick space, right? And I've been doing this for about an hour now. Let's say I could do 4 bricks a minute. That's 25 seconds per brick. Say I can do 5 bricks per minute, 20 seconds per brick. What with, cleaning my brush periodically and chatting and stuff like that. So 5 bricks per minute. And say I've been doing this 70, 80 minutes. That's a much larger number of bricks. It comes out to about 400 bricks. But that's, there's bricks on the inside and outside. Oh, you're right. 60 seconds in a minute. So maybe four bricks per minute is more accurate. Maybe fewer, maybe 3 bricks per minute. So 3 bricks per minute at 80 minutes puts it pretty much in line with your estimation of about 140 bricks. So I think we're both probably about right there. 140, 150 bricks or so. Now I'm curious. Yeah, I keep forgetting that you folks haven't converted to digital time yet. Metric time. Every once in a while, somebody tries to come up with a well-reasoned universal measurement system based on properties of the physical world rather than on arbitrary human creations. And you quickly realize that because of the way we perceive the physical world, measurement is an arbitrary human thing. And therefore, any unit of measurement, by nature of its existence, is going to have been imposed by the human mind, and therefore must necessarily be somewhat arbitrary. That reminds me when I was in school. There was a section in one of my textbooks about the attempts to conclusively prove that 1 + 1 = 2, and the failure of these attempts. Because you have certain things that are givens, but cannot be proven. Which gets right under the skin of folks who think that math or physics or anything like that represents reality, when in fact it is a model that does a very good job of predicting how things will turn out, but it is only a model. It's only a model. Have to be careful when you say this is how things are. It's more accurate to say this is a good way to predict how you will perceive things to be. There is one brick left, folks. Just one. This is mostly in shadow here. So what I'm doing is somewhat obscured. Just finishing up this last brick. On the inner pedestal. Good enough. All right. For the tops of the plinths and the central pedestal, I'm using... Ah, thank you very much. 47 bits for an hour and 47 minutes of painting, or something like that. All right. Do the tops of the outside plinths here. And then I'm going to do the top of the center, where eventually Gotrek will be standing. And then we'll do some sort of texturing to the gargoyles. We're getting closer, chat. Like I said, maybe 4 days. 4 days. The water texture is going to be something that will take a while. I hope it cools off, because I don't know if you folks recall when I was doing the little tiny terrain piece fountains for Kill Team, but we discovered that the water texture, although it goes in clear initially, oh no, just stuck my finger in wet paint. Although it goes in clear to start with, in a hot and humid environment, it turns opaque, which is not what I want. I know I might, after putting the water texture in, bring this into the apartment to dry and cure in a more controlled, air-conditioned environment. I still find it so exciting that I can accept bits on this channel now. I haven't really done anything to advertise that fact or encourage people to send bits, but it is a heady rush. Alright, this might take a couple coats. But let's get this first initial coat on. So the concept of this is that the central pedestal here is some bricks in a circle supporting like half a boulder or something. A small boulder the size of a large boulder. I don't know if that comes across, or if it just looks like what it is, which is a big mass of green stuff mashed into a hemispherical shape and stuck in the middle of this. Do they no longer let you get bits from watching ads? I remember that being a thing. And yes, I am going to do resin water again. I actually was experimenting earlier in the week with trying to do a fountain effect using resin. And it came out okay. I need more practice. but I sculpted this little spout. This little thing here, which you might not be able to see on camera because it's sort of pale. And the idea is to have this somehow coming from the mouth of the gargoyle down into the fountain. I'm going to work on that. This is definitely going to take more than one coat on this surface. Right now you can see the brush strokes pretty clearly. It looks a little messy, but that's fine. Maybe I'll have time for another coat later today. Where are we at? Oh, it's almost noon already. Where does the time go, chat? All right, I want to do one last thing. I'm going to finish this, and then I want to experiment on flecking a texture onto the gargoyles. So my concept is, and it's going to be messy, but my concept is I'm going to try and sort of spray a lighter gray onto the gargoyles. You can kind of see, this is where one of Gotrek's feet will go, and this is where his other foot will go. You can't quite see them, but they're there. I have left imprints in the rock. Anyhow, all right, there. That's that done-ish. Do another coat on that during my next stream, but it's a start. All right, base coat done. Woo! All right, let's move this to one side. And let's get my gargoyles. Gargoyles there. And I'm going to use my dry brush, I think, because it's a stiffer bristled brush. Bristled. Briefly turned into Sean Connery there. Yeah, that might be too stiff. I do abuse my brushes, chat. I put them through a lot. Let's see. Oh, this will work better. did to this brush. But boy, is it clogged. Ugh. Alright, this one's in better shape. So, I'm going to get a lighter gray. It's quite a light gray. It's fine. Okay. Now, time to get my hands dirty. Just gonna lay these folks down like this. Get some paint on the tip of the brush. And then, let's see here. Yeah, that's kind of working. I'm just sort of trying to flick and spatter the paint onto the model to give it a random spattering look. I think that looks pretty much like what I was going for. Give it a sort of granity look. Maybe I'll do some dark as well. Yeah, this is definitely where a zoomier zoom cam would help, because it is a subtle effect. I mean, you can certainly see I'm painting my finger. Oops, that wasn't what I was going for there. Got a couple of streaks. Dang it. Need to work on my control here. All right. Cover some of that up. Looks more like marble than granite now because it's got streaks in. Not flecks, not streaks. just need to hold it further away and have not quite so much paint on the brush. Got some good flecks there. Okay. So I don't know if you folks can see the little flecks that I've gotten in there. I'm gonna do some darker ones too. I don't know if that's working or not. This is a thicker paint, so it doesn't snap off the brush quite as well. A little bit. All right. Let's a little bit more of this light gray out. And do the other two gargoyles. I've certainly got a lot of flecks around on my painting surface, on my board. Yeah, thinner paint might work better for this. Let's try it. Let's try adding a little water. Yeah, I think that does help a bit. Yeah. I think once I've done this to one more gargoyle, I'm going to call this the end of today's stream. So, hey, thanks for joining me, folks. Lobster, I'm glad you could be here. Ooh, I got a big blop there, didn't I? Didn't mean to do that. Sphere Song, I'm so glad you could join me. This has been a very productive day. We got a lot of paint on models today. Oops, that's not the brush I'm looking for. So I'm pleased with the progress that we've made. I will be back possibly Sunday, definitely Monday, to get some more work on these folks done. We'll do some washes. That should be relatively quick and easy. So, yeah, I look forward to seeing you folks again next time. As always, it is having you folks here, keeping me company, that makes these streams the pleasure that they are for me. I really enjoy it. There are some days where I have difficulty getting myself motivated, but I love getting an opportunity to hang out with you folks, and I am delighted with the progress that I'm making, even on this weird, disjointed model that I've been working on. Every day is an opportunity to discover new things, experiment with new ways of painting, and I'm pleased that you folks came along for the ride. Now I'm going to wash my finger and have some lunch. And I look forward to seeing you folks again next time, when we will be doing washes on the model, making some progress. Jeez, I really got a lot of paint on my finger there. To be expected with that particular method of application. Anyhow, thank you so much for joining me, folks. It has been a pleasure as always, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thank you to anybody who is watching in the YouTube archive, and yes, tonight, over at twitch.tv/MerrimanLion, Amanda will be reading some more of Guards by Terry Pratchett. We've started in on the Terry Pratchett, and there's a lot of that to read. I'm really enjoying Guards. I haven't read it in a long time, and it has been a delight to have Amanda reading it. So, thank you for joining me, everybody. Have a wonderful afternoon. Be excellent to each other, and enjoy whatever art it is you choose to do. I will see you all again soon. Bye, everybody.